able to manipulate just small portions of your phone instead of having to just go in and say increase the exposure for an entire photo. You could actually choose just the person or the subject of the image and then increase the exposure on that or whatever you wanted to increase as you're working with that. So today we're going to dig just a little bit deeper into layers and what all we can do with them. So I've got several images open here. And by the way, if you want copies of these images to practice with, just drop me an email and I will zip them up and shoot them over to you so that you can practice on the same files that we talk about briefly during the class time today. Does that sound like a deal? All right, so let's talk about layers. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull my layer window out and pull it over here like this. And you say, oh my gosh, Steve, you can pull layers out. Yeah, you actually can. You can rearrange this entire workspace to be whatever you need it to be. Like I have a workspace that I use for editing portraits, and I have a workspace I use for um editing landscapes. And why do I do that? I do it because I use different tools for different photographs, okay? And so it just nice just to have those tools handy in a different places, okay? So I just pulled layers out right here. Now you may ask, well, Steve, if you pull these layers out over here, how in the world do you come back? Okay. Well, all we have to do is click on this little banner at the top of the layer palette right there if you want to, and you can click and you can drag it back over to the area. Now notice what it's doing. Do you see that little blue line that's forming right there around that particular area right there? So what it's doing is saying, okay, if you drop it right here, I'm going to put it right there and make it part of that tab structure. Okay. So you can put it just about anywhere you want to, but an easier way to get it back into place is just to go up here to the top. Remember the menu we talked about last week? And if we go and if we come down here to where it says workspace, and you're going to notice there are a lot of workspaces built into, well, not a lot. There's a few workspaces built into Shop that's right there ready for you to work with. And notice the default one, it's just essentials. And if I click on essentials, what it's going to do, it will just reset that particular window. So let me go here, this, and I'm going to say reset essentials. So I'll go there and watch what happens. Look at here. It put it all the way back exactly where we started. So that makes it really nice to be able to pull things out want to emphasize different parts or look at different parts as we're working through this, okay? So you just simply do that by grabbing the little banner up here and moving it anywhere on the page. Now, any of these tools are movable, okay? So for instance, remember the tools we talked about over here on the far left-hand side last week? Well, we can grab this little banner or handlebar at the top right there, and look at here, we can move them anywhere need them on the page, or we can just put them right back to where we got them from, okay? So it makes it nice to be able to move our tools around to make them where they work better for us. All right, let's keep working here. Now, you'll notice that I've had my layers open right here on this side of the screen, okay? Now, can everybody, I'm assuming that everybody can see the layer palette, okay? Maybe I should increase the screen size just a wee bit, and that may help a little bit right there too. We'll see if that helps. And because sometimes it's a little hard to see when we get things on here. All right, so our palette's open over here. Now, On the layer palette, there are a lot of tools that we can work with. There's tools down here at the bottom of the page, and you'll notice that some of the tools, when I hover over them, I get this circle with a line through the middle of it, okay? All that's saying, y'all, is that that tool is not available at this time. Now, in this case, the reason that tool, the effects tool, is not available, because if you notice right up here, the name of this layer is background, okay? And there is a lock there. Okay, now what they're doing here is protecting us, okay? Because what happens here is Photoshop is saying, hey, I want to help you work non-destructively. And so in order to do that, I'm going to lock this layer. You say, well, Steve, if that layer's locked, how in the world can I work on it? Well, we can work on it by duplicating it, okay? Now, remember I told you last week that I'm a big fan of shortcuts, okay? Now, currently, there's only about 2,000 shortcuts built into Photoshop, but by the end of this 5 weeks, you'll have all 2,000 of them memorized, I'm sure, okay? No, I'm kidding. I don't have that many memorized. I have a few that I like to use because I use them on a regular basis. But what I've learned is the more I use these shortcuts, the more they become ingrained into my brain. Okay. So what I can do here is I'm going to select this layer. And the way I know it's selected is you can't really see it right now because it's only one layer here, but I know it's selected because it's a light gray. Okay. Wasn't selected, it would be a dark gray. Easy enough. Okay, now what I want to do is I want to duplicate that background so that we can work on it. All right, now here's my shortcut for the day. I'm going to hold the control key down, command or control, and I'm going to touch the letter J for jump. So what that did is when I did command or control J, it jumps a copy of the background onto the layer palette, creates a copy of the layer, okay? So now you'll notice that this layer up here, and remember I said it would be a light gray if it's selected, dark gray if it's not selected, okay? So with this layer selected, notice there is not a lock right there, okay? So we're able now to work with this particular layer and do pretty much anything we want to do to that layer, okay? Now, I think on this layer, what I would like to do is I'd like to select the sky. Okay, pretty easy, right? And remember last week I showed you a couple of little tricks for select sky. So what I'm going to do is I notice this menu up here at the top of the page. Okay, there's all kinds of tools. Remember we talked about those last week? One of the tools up there says select, okay? So if I choose select, notice it's got all kinds of things I can select, but I bet you see what I'm heading for right here. I want the sky. I mean, they make it really easy, y'all. And so if I hit just sky, watch what's going to happen. It takes just a second. And do you see these marching ants running around the house? Okay. All right. Let's see if I can stretch this out just a wee bit more so you can see it a little better. Okay. So there was marching ants. Hold on a minute. Come on, Steve. Just undo what you just did. There we go. Somebody else is coming in. Let me click this button up here real quick. There we go. All right. So I go to select and I'm going to choose the sky. Okay. Now, so it's just that easy. We're going to go to select and sky. Now, I'm going to warn you. Sometimes, okay, sometimes the selection might not be quite as easy, okay, because a lot of clouds in the sky or something like that that's disrupting. This particular picture I set us up for success in that we've just got an empty sky, okay, so it makes it really, really easy. Now, you may say, well, What if I don't like the selection and I want to do something else before I copy it to another layer? Okay, that's real easy. Another shortcut. Ready for this? You're going to hold the Command or the Control button, and you're going to touch the letter D for deselect. And notice when I do that, Command or Control D, and it deselects the selection. Okay, so now we're back to nothing being selected. The top layer, layer 1, is still active, right? It's a light color. All right, so let's do this. Let's go way over here to the left-hand side, and there are some tools. Okay, let's see. Let's look at 1, 2, 3, 4. The fourth tool down. Now remember, I told you on these tools, if there is a little arrow around the 5 mark or so on that particular icon, there's going to be something hid under there. And all you need to do is left click and hold for a second, and that window will pop open and show you some of the different tools that are there. Now, these particular tools right here are selection tools, okay? Now, the magic wand, we could select the sky with the magic wand if we wanted to, and that if I chose the magic wand, it looks like Harry Potter's wand, right? Okay, so what it does is it looks at the area that you click on, and it looks, in this case, it's looking for 3 by 3 average. In other words, it's going to look 3 shades darker and 3 shades lighter. Okay, something like that. Okay, so if I go right in here and I click just one time in the sky, notice what has happened. It's made a selection, but it's not a complete selection, is it? Okay, it left off part of what was available there, and it's because it's saying, hey, this is the area where you clicked in to those shades. Now, if we wanted to add to this selection, we could hold the Shift key down. Now, notice when I do that, under the magic wand, there appears a plus mark. Now, this works, y'all. This works on any of the selection tools. If you have the selection tool selected, okay, and you hold down the Shift key, you're able to add to the select. If I go up here, for instance, in this top corner, and I click one time, notice it just added that portion, but it didn't only add on this side, it added it over here on this side. Pretty nice, huh? So I could go down in this bottom area and click again, and notice what it did. It didn't get all of it, but I can get right down in there and click, and now I got that selected. And over here on the right-hand side, there's a little bit more, and I'm still holding the Shift key, okay? And I click again, and now notice I have the whole sky selected using what we call the magic wand. Okay, so that's pretty easy to do. Let's do one more. Let's do a Command and D for deselect. I'm going to go over here to the left-hand side, and I'm going to pull out this tool called let's do quick selection tool. We can do object another time. So we're going to go quick selection tool. Now, the way the quick selection tool works, y'all, is you basically paint the selection. Okay. Now, I want to make this brush, this big circle, if call it a brush in Photoshop, I want to make it smaller. So here's another shortcut for you. Okay. That's 3 so far today, right? Notice to the right of the letter P on your keyboard. Okay. 2 bracket keys. You see those? The left bracket key will make the brush smaller. Look at that. And the right bracket key will make the brush larger. All right. Now that just makes it really, really easy to increase or decrease. So it's the bracket keys just to the right of the letter P that will increase your brush for you. All right. Now, to use this tool, you can start anywhere in the picture that you want to. I'm just going to start right around here and see what happens. And I'm going to left click and I'm going to drag. And notice as I did, it did it so fast, y'all. Notice as I click a circle is beginning to, or a little selection is beginning to form. Do you see that? And the more I drag it across the image, the quicker it selects. Okay. So that's a pretty easy tool right there. Select with. Oh, we learned how to go up here to select and select sky, which is by far the easiest way to select the sky, especially when it's constructed like this one is, right? But if we use the select sky and it doesn't get all the sky for us, all we need to do is simply go over there and get one of those other selection tools, hold the shift key down to add, and just simply paint over or select the area that we're wanting to work with. Okay, you got that? All right. I can't see your beautiful faces, so I'm assuming are going up and down, and you're saying, yeah, I got that. That's good stuff. All right. Now, with this selection selected right here, I would like to copy that to another layer. So do you remember the shortcut we used for creating a copy of the layer? It was Command or Control J, right? I know you remembered it. All right. So in this case, if we do a Command or Control J, what's going to happen, y'all, is it's because there is something selected on here that is not the entire picture, okay? When it duplicates, it is going to duplicate whatever is selected. Does that make sense? Okay. So, excuse me, y'all. I hope that mute button is working. So right now the sky is selected, right? And so if we wanted to duplicate, if we hit the Command or Control J now, it's going to duplicate the sky. Let's try it. So I'm going to hold the Command or Control down, and I'm going to hit the letter J for jump. And hopefully this is going to work. What did I? There it goes. Okay, now notice what happens here. Here, I'm going to turn these other layers off by clicking on the little eyeball. Now notice what has happened. The other two layers underneath are turned off, and the only layer that is turned on is this one where we selected the sky and copied it over to another area, right? Pretty easy, right? Now I could go in and right over here, I could click the little box again and turn that layer back on. Okay. Now notice the bottom layer is still turned off. Okay. Well, that's because the way that layers work, it works from the top down. Okay. Whatever layer is on the top is the one that is most visible. Okay. So if I turn this one off right here, so only layer that is selected, see the little eyeball right there? It's the only layer selected, and it's sitting on the top. So what happens? Well, it just displays that. Okay. And everything else is still there. The picture's still there. We just turn the layer off, okay, by clicking the little eyeball. So if I turn them back on like this, I'm in good shape. Now, what I would like to do is like to put another sky in there, okay, just for the fun of it. But my problem, y'all, is this, is that I have already, the sky is no longer selected. It's just right here, right? Okay, it's just the layer. It's another shortcut for you. Ready? Number 4. All right. This shortcut allows you to reselect the selection. Okay. So this is not selected anymore. See, we don't see those little marching ants marching all around the picture, right? But if I want to reselect that selection, all I have to do is on the Command or the Control button, Command or Control, and click on the little thumbnail of the layer. Now watch what happens. I just held down the Command or Control button. I clicked on the thumbnail And look at here. There is our selection back again. You want to see it again? Okay, Command or Control D for deselect, right? And if I hold just the Command or Control button down, click the thumb, and then this picture comes back again. The selection's back there again. All right. So it makes it really, really easy once you've added these layers up here. Now, one other thing I want to tell you about. Oftentimes when on an image, I might have 10 or 12 layers on the picture, depending on what I'm trying to do to the image. And if you'll notice that Photoshop just names it layer 1, layer 2, background layer, that's not real descriptive. When you got 10 layers, granted, you can see the picture of them, okay? But what I like to do is go right here where the word is, where it says layer 2, and I just double click on that layer. It turns blue. So then I can name it SKY and hit the tab, and now that layer is selected, okay? Is named. So now we know, hey, that's the sky up there, right? Now, what I want to do now is I can't remember which one of these pictures has the sky in it, but we're going to find it here in just a second. All right, let's see if it's over this way. Hold on. I've got so many images open. Here we go. There's my image. So I'm going to go over here to this image. All right. So there's some storm clouds. All right. Now, as you get more and more familiar with Photoshop and you start collecting things, one of the things you might want to collect are skies. Okay. Wherever I am, wherever I'm traveling or wherever, doesn't matter. If I see a really nice looking sky, I'm going to pull the car over and I'm going to get a picture of it. If my wife and I are together, she'll say, "You see a sky again, don't you? You're going to take a picture." And she'll get her book out and she'll read, and I'll photograph that sky. Okay. But I collect skies because you never know when you want to use them. Now, if you want to learn more about taking photos of skies so they fit in pictures better, we can sometime, or you could just message me and I'll tell you about that. Now, what I want to do here is I want to take this sky and put it into that other photograph that we were working on just a minute ago. Okay. That's what I'm going to do. Shortcut number 5. I'm going to hold the Command or Control button down, and I'm going to hit the letter A for all. Okay. Hold the Command or Control button down and hit, which means all. Okay. So we've selected all the sky. Now, there's a lot of ways that we can drag this picture in or copy it or whatever, but I'm just going to use the copy command today. All right. So I'm just going to right click on this selection. Okay. Now notice there's a lot of different things we can do here. And I notice they have moved that selection tool away. That's okay. So I'm going to go right here. I'm going to hold the Command Control key down and I'm going to hit the letter C for copy. Okay. Command or Control C. Now, let's go back to the house. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, hey, Steve, what you're going to do now? You're going to just paste that picture onto this picture, those clouds, right? Well, let's try. So if I do Command and the letter V for paste, well, pasted it there, but it's not really what we wanted, is it? Okay. So let's do a Control Z and a. All right. Now, here's what we're going to do. I want to paste that sky into this sky. All right. So it's easy enough. Remember the menu up at the top of the page? Let's go up there. Let's go to Edit. And let's come down to where it says Paste Special. Okay. And we're going to go to the second one called Paste Into. Now, notice there's a shortcut for it, but I didn't want to blow your mind with that huge shortcut. Okay. So we're just going to choose Paste Special, Paste Into. All right. Now, watch what happens. I'll go Paste Into, and look at this, y'all. It has automatically masked out the rest of the picture. Okay. it has pasted that picture or that sky into this area right here. See, there's the layer right there. Remember, we're talking about layers today. I can turn that layer on and off, and I can see before and after. You see that? So it makes it really, really nice. Now, here's something fun about when you paste a picture into a selection. Watch this. If I go over here to the left-hand side, the very top tool up there is called the Move tool. Okay, there's a shortcut for that too, and you'll notice it's right there, okay? But if I want to get the Move tool, I can touch the letter V, or I can just click on that tool, right? Look what's happened here. Do you see this blue line that goes way around the picture right here? Here, let me shrink this down a little bit so you can see it. Look at that blue line, y'all. What that blue box is telling us is this is the entire image of that sky, okay? And look at it and compared to the picture, okay? See it up there? Now, I could just move that box around, okay? And when I move the box around, it'll go different places. Or I can shrink that box down. Look what's happening, okay? Can you see it there? Can you see it moving? Okay. So I just click on one of the corners and I drag it around to get it to look the way I want to. Let me blow it back up for you, okay? So now, now you can see it a little bit better. Notice how the is getting smaller. Look at this. I've made it really small now. Okay. It's too small, right? But notice what happens when I pull it out. It only displays the portion of the picture that is inside that selection right up here. Remember? Okay. So we can get our move tool and we can move that sky around if we want to, to get the different clouds where we want them to be and that kind of thing. Okay. Then once we get it where we want it, we just hit the return key or the enter key. And now we have replaced the sky. And look at all the layers over there, y'all. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4 layers. Our background that we started with, right? We've got our layer where we duplicated the background so that we're working non-destructively. Okay. We've got our sky layer where we selected the sky and we copied it over. Now we brought in a layer that is the sky layer. Okay. So we've got all these different layers. Now, I want to show you something else. I'm going to go up here and I'm going to select layer. Okay. This layer right up here. All right. See how it's got a line, a little white line around it, a box. Okay. Now, notice if I go straight up from thumbnail, there's the word normal. You see that? Normal just simply means this area is called blending modes. Okay. If I click on that little drop down arrow there, we get a lot of different selections of how we can make this layer blend with the layers below. All right. So how does this work? Well, note in sections right here. Notice there's a line right there, and down here, there's a line right there, okay? This section up here will darken the selection in relation to the red picture, okay? So if I go to multiply, look at there, it multiplies all the darker tones. Color burn, okay? Linear burn, darken blur. Look what it does on that one. It took away some of the picture altogether. Section down here, I bet you guessed what it does. It lightens the selection in relation to the other pictures. So here's lighten, here's screen. We're going to play with screen in just a minute. Something that you're going to go, wow, that's cool. All right. So these are just different ways. So we can darken, we can lighten. Okay. And the best way to play with these, y'all, is just simply get in here, choose you want to work with and just slide through these different selections and see what you get. Okay. Now, there's also another selection right here. And this section right here, it is going to both the dark and the light in different ways. Okay. For instance, overlay is going to make things much more contrasty. Okay. Whereas soft light takes a little contrast away. Notice, can you see all the clouds and swirls in the sky right there when it's on overlay? Watch, because it has bumped up the contrast. If I come over here to soft light, look what, can you see the difference? See how it just softens them up? Okay. So soft light's just another way that we can use. We can do hard light, which is very contrasty. Okay. Now there's a lot more here, but what I'm going to do is just tell you, we're going to play these this week a little bit. All right. So I'm going to stay with soft light. And when I click on it, notice it takes care of it right there. If I turn this layer on and off, I'm able to see before and after and see what it did. Okay. Now, if I don't like how much soft light has affected the image or on this layer, notice to the right of the word soft light, there is the word opacity. Okay. Now we can drop this opacity slider down, and this is the amount of that adjustment that has been made. Now watch this. If I pull it all the way over to 0, look at that. It completely takes everything away. Okay. If I go all the way to 100, it brings it back. Do you see that? Okay. So this opacity slider gives us the ability to just take some away or add some back in. Okay. So Photoshop has given us a lot of control here to take care of this particular image. All right. Now, I want to bring another image in. So let's do this. Let's go up here and let's choose my snow image. Now, I've had so many people that have said to me, Steve, where did you get that picture of the snow? Well, actually, y'all, I just created a black piece of paper on Photoshop, okay? And then I took a paintbrush with soft edges. Click, 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 all the way up. Okay, I made snow. All right, I know, not crazy hard. So I want to select all this picture. Remember, Control or Command A, right? Good. Now, what I want to do is this layer right here, okay? That's the house layer. That's the layer that's got our picture in it that we've been working on, okay? So let's do this. I'm going to get the Move tool, okay? See it over here on the left? Now, remember I told you there's several ways to move an image. Here's what we're going to do. I have the Move tool. I have the image selected. Okay, I'm going to left click and hold my cursor down. Notice I'm moving the image. Do you see that? As long as I hold that left button down on my mouse, the left button is like my hand grabbing onto the image and moving it somewhere else. All right. Now, I'm still holding my button, and I'm going to take the image and I'm going to hover over the house tab up here. Notice when I hovered over the tab, it's still selected because I'm still holding that mouse button down, okay? And when that picture appears, I'm just going to pull the image down here, okay? And I'm going to drop it onto this image, okay? That's all I did, okay? So I can go here and I can resize the image if I want to, but I've already resized it just to speed things up for us a little bit, okay? Now, so now look what happened. When I pulled another image into this image we've been working on, it stacks it on top. All right, now I want to make a point. Notice right now that this image is on top, and thus it's covering up everything, right? Okay, here, let's turn it on and off just to show you. Okay, see there? If I turn that layer on and off, you can see that image. It's just covering it up, right? Now, something interesting about images is that we can actually move them around on the order that they're sitting. So if I wanted to, this empty area right over here on the layer, if I left click and drag, I can move that image anywhere that I want it. Look at this. Okay, let's do it right here. That'll be fun. Okay, so now look, I moved it down, but look what's happened here, y'all. The house is the only place where that image is showing. Okay, why? Because look at the layer above it. The layer above it is the sky, right? And so the sky is masked out, and it's now I can turn that layer off. Watch what happens. All right. So that sky selection that we made a few moments ago, right? It's still showing. It's still right there. And why is it showing? Because it's on top. All right. This layer down here is showing, okay, but it's only showing where the selection is open. Okay, notice this area down here, it's got a little checkerboard down there. Okay, that just tells us that area is open. There's nothing there. There's not a selection. Now, if I wanted to, I could click and drag it all the way back to the top and put it right back on the top again. All right, now we were talking about blending modes, right? So what I'm going to do here, remember we went up, we go straight up to the word normal, right? And we'll drop it down. Now, I happen to know that there is a blending mode in here that completely gets away, that completely does away with the color black. Okay, let's see what it does. So if I come down to darken, well, darken doesn't affect it because it's already dark, right? So multiply affects it a little bit because multiply grabs a hold of it tones down the white in the picture. Okay, notice the white's going away and only the blue color staying there. Okay, color, it's gonna kind of look at the color and see, okay, how can I blend that? But if we come down to screen, all the way down here, look what happens. When I highlight the word screen or the mode screen, it takes away all the shadow content, okay, and only leaves the highlights. Now, is that cool or what? I'll come off of it again, okay? There it is, just the regular picture. But if I put it on screen mode and click, notice now that screen is here, okay? And it is screening out all the shadow content on the picture. And so what do I have left? All I have left is the white, the highlights, if you will, that are there. Isn't that cool? All right. Now, you may say, well, Steve, that doesn't really look like a whole lot of snow. You're right. It doesn't look like a lot of snow. I agree. But here's what we could do. Remember, remember we had a command that would duplicate a layer, right? Well, let's just duplicate this layer. So this layer is selected. It's that light gray color. Remember what we talked about? So if I do command and or control, the letter J, and I hit it, notice that I now have two layers of snow. Let's name it. Let's go here and call this snow 1. Okay. And then let's go up here and call this snow 2. All right. So we got snow 1 and snow 2. All right. So right now, the snow is stacked right on top of each other. All these little dots, it's just one. If I turn one layer off, the only thing you see is they get a little more intense because you've doubled up on the picture, right? But watch this, y'all. Remember how a minute ago when we dropped the sky in there? And I said you could get the move tool and then you could move that sky around. Same thing with the snow. Watch this. If I go over here and I get the move tool, or I'll use the letter V to select it, watch this. If I slide it around now, do you see the snow moving? Okay, you see that? All right, here we go. We'll make it snow. There we go. All right. So what we've done is we've duplicated that layer and we've made more snow. All right. And you can even see on the layer where you have moved the picture. See how it's white on this far right-hand edge over here? Okay. All right. And you see the box over here. So that's telling us, hey, it's been duplicated. Okay. Now, watch this. If I lay my cursor right on one of these corners, I can reduce the size, okay, or I can enlarge the size. Just totally up to whatever you want to do when you're being creative, right? We're all on that layer up here, right? Okay. Now, watch this. If I put the cursor just to the outside of one of those boxes, I get this little curved arrow, right? I bet you know what it does, don't you? If I left click, I can rotate this box. Okay. Don't rotate it a whole lot like this because you'll get dizzy. All right. Okay. I'm teasing. All right. Notice there's even a marker up in the top right hand corner that shows you the amount of rotation you've applied in case you want to apply the exact rotation to some other layers. You could do that. Okay. So notice we can move the sky around now. Not the snow, right? Okay. So we did that. Now, what if we wanted more snow? Well, okay, let's do it again. We select the top layer. All right. We do Command or Control J. All right. There it is, a complete duplicate. And then if we get that move tool again, move it around a little bit more. So I think you see what's happening here, y'all, right? Okay. We're just duplicating that layer over and over and over. And it assumes the property of the bottommost layer. Okay. So the properties in this case it was screen, right? Screen mode. All right. So we've got all these layers. Now you may say, well, Steve, that's really cool. But if I duplicate that snow layer maybe 20 times, it's going to consume that whole window and I'm going to lose a lot of real estate. Yeah, I agree with you. So let's fix something. So if we go over here to this layer and we select this top one, okay, I just clicked in the little gray area there. Notice it turned light gray, whereas these are dark gray, okay? And if I come down to the bottommost snow picture, right? And I hold the shift key down and I click on that bottom one. Notice what just happened. It has selected all three layers. So I just simply, I click on the top layer and then I shift click on the lowest layer that I wanted to do. All right. So in doing that, now all those layers are selected. Well, Steve, can you move all those layers at one time? You actually can because they're selected. Notice what's happening. We're moving all the snow. You see that? Okay. So we can move all of that snow and get it to move around at one time. But the thing I want to do here is I want to save myself some real estate in this window so that I can have room for more layers. All right. So what I'm going to do is any of these little gray areas that are selected, I'm going to left click and a big window is going to open up. Okay. Now, what I'm looking for here, if it's going to let me, all right, here we go. We choose new group from layers. Now, if you happen to be on an older version of Photoshop, it would just say group. Okay. So right now it just says new group from layers. What layers? The ones that are selected, right? Okay. So I'm going to click that and watch what's going to happen. Now a window just opened up over here. Here, I'll pull it over here. All right. It says, what do you want to name that group? Okay, well, let's name it snow. All right. And we can even color that layer if we want to. Okay. Let's color it blue. That's a nice cold color. All right. And we're going to click OK. And look what just happened. Those snow pictures are still here, but they're inside this group. So what has happened here is it's just giving you more space. Okay. They're all right here. If I drop this little arrow down, look at here. There's all three of those layers. And I can work on any of those individual layers if I want to, or I can go over here and close them up. Okay. It just gets them out of the way. So how did I do that? I selected the layers that I wanted to put in a group, right? I right clicked and I said new layer or new group from layers. Okay. And then I gave it a name. All right. Now notice it took up the color that I named it right there. Okay. So if you've got an image that you're doing that you know that you're going to have an awful lot of layers in, okay, you can actually color your layers just to make it easier for you. I don't know about you. I'm a visual person, okay? And if I can see a picture of something, I am a lot more likely to be able to find it, okay? So that just helps me to be able to visualize where different things are. All right. Any questions so far about what we've covered? I haven't looked on the chat window over here. Let me look here. Hi, is it okay if we miss it? Yeah, that's good there. Can you invert the selection on the screen? Essentially the screen. Yes, you sure can, Timothy. Great question. Um, let's do that. Let's just for the fun of it. Let's go up here and let's turn off the snow and let's turn off the sky and let's just go to the sky picture right here. Okay. So what I'm going to do is do that command or control and I'm going to click on the selection, right? And there's the selection marching around the sky, right? Now, what I can do is come up here to the top. Now there's a shortcut, but I'm going to show you up here first. I can come up here to the top menu and I can choose select, okay? And when I look on here, there's a lot of selections, but look right here. I can go inverse. So if I click on that, now the selection is this bottom area and not the sky. Let's just prove that. So if I go here on this layer, I got a selection and I do Control J, okay? And if I turn off all the other layers, now it shows me that inverted selection that we just worked with. That is a great technique right there because you're able to select the sky and work on it and then invert and select the others. Okay, so that's really good there. Let's see, Angel, we've had a lot of interruptions in my office. Can I get a copy of the recording? Yeah, you bet. I'm going to post last week's and this week's out to YouTube, and I will send everybody a link to that probably later this afternoon. I'll get that done so that you can listen to this over and over and be able to enjoy it again. All right. I
I
hope
have
you're,
a question, if I may.
yeah,
Um,
Beth.
the way that you used a screen to remove the black from the snow.
Right.
I think Timothy and I are maybe both asking the same question. Is there a feature where it would remove the white, like, and remove the snow, but leave the black with little holes in it?
It does. That would be the blending mode called darken.
Darken. Okay.
Mhm.
Thank
So
you.
darken is the opposite of screen, and that would do that for you. Great question. Great question. All right. So here's what I want to do. I'm going to turn all these layers back on just for the fun of it because we've been working on all these together. Now, what I would like to do now, because I've got a few minutes left, is I want to add some text to this image. All right. So to add text to this particular image, I'm going to go over here to the left-hand side. And most people don't realize this, y'all, but Adobe is actually a Tennessee fan. Okay. I know you didn't realize that, but if you look on the tools over here, what do you see right there on the side? There's the Power T right there inside of Adobe. I mean, they didn't even know and I mean, it's the exact font, y'all. Look at that. So Adobe it may be unintentional, but they are actually Tennessee fans. So I just think this is great. So if I notice that there is a little white button down there at the bottom right, okay, around the 5 o'clock mark, okay? And notice there's different ways that I can add text to this picture. All right. I'm just going to choose the basic one, the horizontal text, okay? But you can always change it. Notice now the cursor is changed to this dotted box, okay? And it's got, I don't know what you'd call that. It looks like an I-beam to me. But anyway, if I bring that over into the picture over here and I just left click, okay, it's going to give me a sample box. But look what it did on the layers over there. Look at here. It has created a layer, okay? For our text, because Photoshop knows if you're going to put a layer in here, you're probably going to do some nice cool stuff to it. All right, so that layer's active. It's active over here. Now, how do I add the text? I'm just going to double click in that area right there, and when I do, it selects all the text. Okay, and let's type in Ersity of Tennessee. Not that that's a picture of UT. Okay, just so you understand. Now, watch this. Notice the name of this layer over here. It's called it layer 4, right? I mean, that's kind of boring. But watch what happens now. Watch that word when I click on this layer. Boom. Look at that. Now it's uni of Mississippi. Okay. That's just because the picture is so small, right? If I stretch this out, we're able to see the entire name. So when we add text to a picture, it automatically, when we click on the layer, it automatically names it whatever that text is. Now that's a really cool trick. Okay. So with this selected, this layer, so sorry, y'all. With this layer selected, notice I told you last week, whenever you select a tool, there are properties related to that tool. See the properties across the top up here? Okay. So if I drop this little window down here where it says Georgia, because we certainly don't want to honor Georgia here, right? I mean, this is a Tennessee thing. Unfortunately, we don't have a font called Tennessee, but that's okay. Maybe somebody should create one of those and go into Illustrator. So if I go right here and notice, and I don't know how, let's see here. How can I do this? Hold on. Let me do this. All right, here. I don't think that's going to work, but that's okay. If I go in here, notice as I hover over different font names, it shows me that font. Okay. Now I happen to know that Georgia is one of the pictures, one of the fonts that's approved by the university. But the biggest one you're going to see on websites is Gotham. Okay. Now that has nothing to do with Batman. Okay. But that's just it right there. Well, I guess it doesn't. So if I choose Gotham, now I've got one of the official, there's 3 or 4 official UT fonts. You can get that from communications on campus. All right. Now, notice I got Gotham selected. There's another box up here called Medium. Look at this. I can go in here and maybe I want to make it black italics, okay? And when I do that, it changes the font. Now, I didn't have to select the font, did I? I didn't have to select the text. I just simply selected the layer. That's the power of these layers, y'all, okay? So then if I go over here, notice there's a drop down for the font size. And look at this. Boy, we can just make it really, really big. All right. Now, I know what you're saying, Steve. Goofball, it's running off the screen. Okay, you need to fix that. Okay, you insist. I'm gonna hit the letter V for move. Okay, and notice when I do, I get this box around it. Well, if I've got the move tool selected, I can just come right here and I can select it and put it just anywhere I think is gonna look cool. All right. So now here's something else. Also, when I have it selected, remember we've talked several times that if we grab a corner, we can make something bigger or smaller, right? Look at here. I can make this the font bigger or smaller. And look at the property line up there at the top. Do you see those numbers changing? Okay, sort of like the stock market, right? And so we can go in here and we can stretch it and make it bigger, smaller, whatever we want it to be. And we can even turn it a little bit sideways. Okay. So we can make all kinds of changes to that. Now you say, well, Steve, what if we wanted to change this color? Well, we could do that too. So if we go up here, make sure the text tool is selected. Okay. And we go up here, notice this little block right there. All right, right there. If we click on that, a color swatch window here, I'm going to pull it out so you can see it better. Okay. Color swatch window opens up, and we can go in here and we can choose another color, like maybe patriotic orange or something like that. Okay. Something that's closer to what we think it should be, right? Okay. Now we can slide these sliders all over the place, okay, to get it looking different ways. Okay. Now, if I wanted to, I could click on here and we could go to the color area, color window, if you will, and we could tell it that we wanted to see the um oh shoot, what's the thing I'm talking about? The color settings, the numbers. My mind's going blank right at the moment, y'all. Anyway, we can actually go in there and type in the exact color for University of Tennessee's orange color, okay, if we wanted to. All right. So lots of ways that we can go in here and change these colors. And you can just click on that little box right there, and you can choose the different ways that you want to see your colors to work with right there. Okay. So that makes it really nice to be able to go in there and choose different colors and things like that to make it easier on you. Okay. All right. Now, so we've added some font, we've added some color to it, and I'm going to show you one more little trick, and then I've only got 1 minute left, and I think I can do this. I'm going to come over here and I'm going to choose this here. I want to choose that. Hold on. Let me go back to white. There we go. So I'm going to go over here, and this gray area that sits right out here, I'm going to right click. And no, I'm not going to right click. I'm going to double click. Excuse me, y'all. They changed that in the last update. Let's see. Yeah, hold on. Something's Hold on a minute, y'all. Photoshop's doing something silly to me over here. Okay, here we go. That should do it. So I'm going to go here. Hold on. Let me close this out right here. I'm really not sure what is happening. There it goes. Photoshop's running real slow all of a sudden, and I'm not sure why. And I'm not sure why this is not working here. I'm going to have to show y'all this trick on another day because something has locked up on my computer and it's saying, can't do that. All right. So here we go. So we've got this. We've looked at layers extensively today. We've looked at layer modes. We've looked at the ways we can adjust layers. There's so much more that we can look at, but I don't want to give you too much all at one time. So here's what I want you to do. For next week, I want you to practice with this. And remember, if you want these images, you just drop me a note inside of Teams or use that old fashioned thing called email and drop it out to me, and I'll be glad to send these images to you. And there are actually some other images that could go along with this, but for right now, this will work. And what I want you to do is I want you to try to reproduce this image. I want you to replace the sky, and I want you to go in there and maybe darken the sky or lighten the sky, or maybe select the building and turn the building a different color or something like that. Just have some fun working with different layers and seeing what the layers do. Okay. Then I want you to create some text and put it on your screen and see what you can do to manipulate your text a little bit. I think you'll enjoy doing that a little bit too. Okay. So that's what I want you to work on. Now, next week, we're going to talk about adjustment layers and filters. Okay. So adjustment layers where we're working on brightness and contrast and level and hue and saturation and all that kind of fun stuff. And we're going to talk a little bit about how to do that as just selected parts of the image and as doing it to the whole image as a whole. All right. So lots of fun stuff to look forward to. And you work on this week. If you have any questions as you go through the week, please be sure and drop me a message on Teams. It's easy to find me there, or if you'd like, you can drop me an email and I will respond to it very, very quickly. All right. Hey, thanks everyone. I have really enjoyed being with you today. I'll stick around a few minutes in case anybody has a question they want to ask before we leave. And otherwise, have a wonderful day. I'll see you next week. Thanks, y'all.